Hey, everybody. Hope you've had a great week. It's Pat Miletich back again with another episode of Super Soil, Superhuman, where we just discuss a lot of topics to benefit mankind and the earth, the environment, animals, you name it. So today we're going to be covering some really cool stuff that's going on here in Phoenix, Arizona. Sitting next to me, Shelby from Unjected. And I tell you what, for somebody, what, you're 30 years old?
I am.
Yeah, she's only 30 years old and just took the initiative and started. She stood up for herself, for her children, for their health. And that's a pretty incredible thing for a 30-year-old person to do, take charge of her life and her children's life and go against everything, the lies that have been going on. So Shelby, tell us,
Thank you.
really, welcome, number one, yes.
Thank you.
But most of all, I want to ask you kind of how it all happened. What happened?
For sure. So when my first experience with Big Pharma was actually when I was injured by the Gardasil vaccine. So a practitioner had told me to take this revolutionary cancer preventative injection. And shortly after that third shot, I developed a myriad of heart conditions as a teenager. I was healthy, thriving, and then I no longer could even go upstairs anymore. And once I was actually pregnant with my daughter, I decided to dive into the pharmaceutical complex and establishment.
Yeah.
And that's really when I learned about the lack of placebo control studies. I learned about the 1986 Liability Act for vaccines. And I quite frankly was horrified. And so I did choose to not vaccinate my children. And so I was kind of the quote unquote anti-vaxxer, before 2020.
Sure.
And, when we saw the mandates and the lockdowns, we heard of Operation Warp Speed. I knew that something was going to be very wrong. And in the spring of 21, after the shots had rolled out and people were reporting having menstrual changes, fertility issues, a myriad of health problems, I just knew that the unvaccinated control group needed a place to connect and find each other.
Yeah. And so how many events have you actually done? And when did you actually start the Unjected organization?
So we were launched in spring of 21, actually originally as an app for Apple and Google Play Store, and we were deleted for misinformation by the big tech companies. So we've been on unjected.com for the last few years, but we will be making a comeback to the app stores in early fall. But the Unjected events are a new experience for us. We've been hosting just kind of decentralized mixers all over the country, just like this evening, which we are so excited to be here in Phoenix and connecting unvaccinated people.
Yeah, so tonight is the Giving Tree here in Phoenix, and Shelby and Doug Fletcher. Thank you, Doug, for putting this event together. Shelby, you were just in Las Vegas. Who were some of the people that you were talking with while you were there?
Absolutely. So in Vegas was a great time at Freedom Fest. Del Bigtree, absolutely love him. Mickey Willis. I'm terrible with names, but just an absolute lineup of freedom fighters, of warriors. All really excited to maybe even potentially come tonight and even host mixers where they are all over the world.
So now, when you started all of this, I mean, look, everybody feels fear, right, of what's going on and, being pushed into a corner like Americans have and worldwide people have.
Yeah.
What happened? What was it that took you from fear to action? What was really the mechanism?
I think it was the actual thought of what I was going to be leaving for my children, and the fear of what the world was going to become.
Sure.
If we were this censored in 2020 or 2021, and our rights and liberties were taken from us, if we just idly watched that happen, then those would be the freedoms that our children never even knew. And I think that's really my driving force. And of course, just knowing what I experienced through living through a big pharma, adverse event.
The injuries that hurt you. And, most of the people, I don't know if I should say most, but a lot of the people who are truly anti-vaccine altogether were people whose either their children were harmed or they were harmed, like yourself, right?
Right. And that's the unfortunate game that big pharma plays. They vaccinate children and, of course, adults to create patients for life. Once you're vaccinated, they can get you for the health consequences that come down the road, and prescriptions and testing and, hospital stays, whatever it might be. They were able to collect you into the system. And I have no doubt that's what happened here in 2020 with the COVID rollout. And, I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen again.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of talking. I was just talking about this earlier. There's all this talk about, self-assembly nanotech and hydrogel and this and that, all these things. When essentially, when I went back to Anthony Fauci's patent on the HIV virus, not the vaccine, but the virus, it clearly says that the synthetic portion of that is essential for replication, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you read that and you recognize that synthetics and heavy metals are in our environment increasingly every year, more and more, and we see more and more illnesses go up with that, right? And so it doesn't matter whether it's the water, the food, the soil, the air, or vaccines and medications, they're ending up in people, and we see the increase in explosion. And life expectancy is 7 years less in the past, decade or so? It's dropped that fast.
Right.
So.
And that's just the beginning of this. I see over the next 10, 15, 20 years, as the clinical studies are finally done, we're still in the midst of that. It's not till 2026, 2027, but the COVID clinical trial is actually even complete, let alone when the children who have been born to vaccinated parents, et cetera, become to reproductive age. That's also going to be a telltale sign of, what happened to our fertility as a population. Turbo cancer is gone through the roof, of course, miscarriage, stillbirth. So, and those heavy metals absolutely are playing a part of that. Just like you mentioned, it's coming from literally every direction.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important right now that we really mitigate, we detox, we find other people that are going to help us keep safe and not shed on us. It's a full encapsulating time that we're living in right now.
No, and here's the thing is, ultimately it's the asymmetrical self-defense, because we are in and have been for many decades an asymmetrical war. The chemicals, the financial incentives that were handed down for farmers, for instance, to use petroleum-based fertilizers and the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, all those things. Farmers were in financial dire straits in the 70s after the stock market collapse in 1973 because Nixon took us off the gold standard. So we go through that timeline and understand, you've got farmers over a barrel. They come out with these studies that say, hey, you can have great yields, and farmers are thinking, oh my God, this could rescue our farm.
Right.
And so you put them in that again, push them into the corner and force them to make that decision. And that's a big part of why people are sick, because several of those chemicals that aren't warfare chemicals are failed antibiotics.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. And that just is it's a great example about how they can drive, fear and stability is what's driving this evil, doings. They're weighing on the fact that we are going to be fearful, that we're not going to fight back, that we're going to want to maintain our careers and our livelihoods, and work for kind of the slave system to do their bidding for them, truly. And that's why we need farmers that are all waking up to this, that are saying, wait, it's all starting in the soil. It's all starting from the sky and the water, and that's going directly into us.
Right.
And it's so important.
Yeah.
It's just as important.
And there's a lot of people that I'm thinking that there's going to be at least some people, I should say, who are going to show up to events who have been vaccinated, who are curious. And, it's very clear that I want to make it very clear that, and I'm sure you feel the same way, a lot of these people had to keep their jobs, to feed their children, to keep their houses. They were, again, pushed into a corner. That's how these psychopaths operate.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be people at the event tonight. And if there's anybody that hears this, come out to the Giving Tree in Phoenix, because you're all welcome. This is about education. This is about honesty. This is about truth. This is about faith. And a lot of people took a lot of money. And this is the thing that I say to leaders, political leaders, church leaders, school leaders, academics, all these types of people that forced people to get the vaccine. The people aren't fully aware yet. But in history, I can tell you in Weimar, Germany, when the citizens became aware that they were lied to about their fellow citizens who were Jewish, and they put them on trains and shipped them off. And, you know, there were other groups, minorities and things involved in that shipping people off and killing them. Once the German citizens realized that they were lied to by the academics, by the media, by those people before the Nuremberg trials even happened, were rounded up and hung in German cities around the country.
Wow.
And so people have to understand, if you were one of those people that were forcing people to do this to keep their jobs, I can tell you that there are ways to mitigate and transmute and correct and remove and chelate these toxins out of people's bodies. And it would be wise of you to come on board and help your employees, your church members, anybody, because when it finally dawns on them of how they've been lied to and what's been done, there's not a whole lot that we're going to be able to do to stop that anger.
I love that you said that. And it's 100% a fact. It's a scary fact. You know, when people realize the damage that's been done to themselves or their children,
right,
people are going to be angry. And we have to take that energy and transmute it in the right direction, which of course is the evil people who caused this. But, you know, coercion was not consent. And people were forced from their money, their livelihoods, their education, their careers to make this decision.
Yeah.
And that is a crime against humanity. And yes, Nuremberg 2 will happen again. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And so we do have compassion for anybody, you know, who got vaccinated, our friends and our family. You know, we love you. We never wanted that to happen to you, or, you know, for any harm to be caused. And so, you know, just because at Injected, you know, we specifically tailor to unvaccinated, just like Pat was saying, you know, this is a moment for you to come and learn and be educated. You know, knowledge is power. And when we all come together, unvaccinated and vaccinated, that's how we're going to defeat these evil globalists.
Right.
We can't do it alone. We have to unite.
Sure. And it's important for people to understand also, not to go too deep, but, you know, the bloodlines that have run this planet for thousands of years, that hasn't changed. It's been the same bloodlines all the way through, and they have done this sort of thing to mankind over and over and over again. You know, if you think that heavy metals have not been used before, think again. They've been doing this for a long time and poisoning mankind and doing horrible things to us and forcing us into wars through misinformation and everything else. So it's just really important to see a lot of people are waking up, where farmers and agronomists and other people like that just a couple of years ago weren't receptive to the things that I was saying. They were actually, I mean, even at university ag departments, I'd have meetings with professors and they'd look at me and go, "We don't even know what the hell you're talking about." Right. So it was all chemical based. That's what they were all about. They didn't understand what I was talking about. Neither did the doctors. And I think even a lot of those people are waking up and jumping ship and moving the right direction towards faith, freedom, health, the power of nature. But because we'll put it this way, I guess, is the way I look at it is, when you don't fly in formation with nature, when you go outside of nature and look for health remedies outside of nature and flying with nature, nature will damage you or kill you. That's what nature does. It'll kill a weak plant. It'll kill a weak animal. It'll kill a weak human.
100%. Nature wins. Nature's always going to be the one that wins. Yeah, you're right. And I think that's kind of the paradox of the whole situation is, you know, they did coerce people. They, you know, forced them. They've injured people. They've maimed. They've killed people.
Massive amounts of fear. And
in that process, though, it has stirred the Great Awakening now. We're all kind of on the front seats of it, getting to watch everybody, you know, have their quote unquote red pill moment and go, maybe these preconceived notions that I had before about the way reality is not, you know, the truth. And really, we're watching a massive amount of people exiting the matrix right now. So that is a huge blessing in this, is that we're able to help direct them in the right way now.
I think things are, the light's starting to push into the darkness a lot further.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the light drives out the darkness. It can't exist in the same place.
Beautiful thing. And so tonight we're starting at 5 o'clock, right?
Yep.
5 o'clock Pacific.
Gosh, I think, are we Pacific time? Yeah, so 5 o'clock Pacific time, 5 to 7, we're going to have speakers. So I will be talking a little bit about Injected. Of course, we're going to have Pat and Dr. Will Spencer talking about all the incredible work that they are doing with the soil and their supplements and regimens. And we'll also have Rebunked News coming by to talk about what he's up to. And Of course, Doug, our detox dealer. So we'll have some educational from 5 to 7, and then 7 to 12 will be kind of the connecting and the mixing and having fun.
So then, are we going to broadcast this live on the internet, the event?
We sure could.
Okay, so where can people go to find that on, would it be your Rumble channel?
Yeah, or we can stream it on X. Maybe go to at Unjected on X for a live stream, and even Instagram at Unjected Official.
Beautiful. Okay, well, Shelby, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
No, great work on your part. Yeah. Thanks. So, hey, following her footsteps, all you young ones out there, I've got 3 daughters who are young and were never just like your kids.
Unjected.
Yes, injected, and they've never really ever gotten sick with anything. And it was a scary decision at the time, but nonetheless. So yeah, check us out on Unjected at Unjected on X.
Yes.
And we'll be live on there.
Perfect. We will. Okay.
Beautiful.
Sounds great.
All right, guys, this is all for me for this episode, and thank you again to Shelby.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next week. Okay, take care.
Thanks, everyone.